German wine industry, and how important it is for them to, supply more wines around the world.
Well, you see, Germany is a really tiny wine market and wine growing region with just 102,000 hectares. We are as big as Bordeaux region alone is, and we consume 20 million liter per year. This means double consumption in Germany is taking place as we produce. That's why we are one of the biggest importer of international brands in Germany, and around 20% of our production is going to export markets. Is it okay? Yeah. Out of these 20%, the Asian markets have 20% share. That means our biggest market for exportation is in the first line, United States. Then we have Great Britain, Netherlands, the Scandinavian markets, and then China and Japan are following. These are the main markets in Asia growing. China is growing dramatically. We have, in the last 4 years, tripled our exportation to China, a huge demand. Japan is a little bit going back in exportation, and I see a great potential in Asia, nevertheless. And I know from the Japanese friends, for example, that Riesling, our main grape variety, is gaining back such a high reputation, and people like the German Rieslings in Asia, even though the consumption in Asia is more on the red side. But there is time for it changing. When you consume more wine together with food, then we have bigger opportunities to place German wine, especially Riesling. We see pronounced acidity, the light alcohol content, and the fruitiness. These wines are really perfect to some dishes from Asia. Especially the sweeter styles are great with spicy food from India, or some curries we experienced yesterday. That gives me hope. Once the people are developed to place wine together with food, then they will come more on the white wine side, especially in Singapore. Seafood. You need to enjoy seafood with Riesling. There's no go with red wine, and I think the culture is just dramatically changing to enjoy wine together with food, and that's why even though we are a small producer, we have big chances for getting more attention to our precious wines.
Ms. Liebchen, what kind of challenges do wine growers now facing in Germany with climate change and so forth? There's more demand from what we know than supply. Is that true? And how do growers in Germany counter this challenge?
Well, we have, for example, the vintage 2010 was one of the smallest vintage we ever had, with just 6.7 million hectoliter. We had a quite small vintage. The average is normally 10 million hectoliter production. That is why we had some difficulties in supplying the world with our wines. Luckily, 2011 vintage was, regarding the quantity and the quality, balancing with 9 million hectoliter. We had a good vintage, and now the vintners are filling the wines and distributing the wines. So we have a better situation regarding the market. Regarding climate change, you are right. We have a lot of challenges to manage because we have more stronger climate changes during the year. We have sometimes quite dry times to overcome. Then we have heavily rains, and in general we have a warmer climate in Germany. Luckily, that's why we have not such a trouble with that. But in Southern Europe, they need water to produce wine, and they have a lot of hot and dry summers, and this is damaging a little bit their production. But in Germany, we have really good conditions. And you can see that vintners start to grow grape varieties which weren't allowed 20 years ago, like Merlot or Chardonnay or Sauvignon Blanc, Cabernet Sauvignon. These are grape varieties which are new in Germany in production as our conditions changed.
What's happening with the government policies back in Germany as well as your association? Is there any countermeasures to counteract in terms of the euro itself? As the euro gets stronger, how does the price affect the rest of the buyers around the world? And how does the government able to counteract these measures in terms of if the growers were to have a shortage of wine, so to speak, due to climate change and so forth? Will the banks or even the government come in or step in to assist the growers in Germany?
Well, this is a market. These are market relations, and as I said, vintage 2010 was quite small. That is why it was needed to increase the prices on the side of the vintners, because they need to live from wine, and these price corrections upwards have also an effect on the demand. But in Germany we do not have an overproduction. So there's enough demand for German wine in the market and from outside, and this is making the wines more increasing. Regarding the price, the currency exchange value, this is always a game with the exportation, that if the euro is quite strong, then our exporters especially have difficulties to sell these more expensive wines. Currently, the euro is a little bit weak, and we see a higher demand from importers across the globe. But this is a market where the government cannot interfere, and there are no plans for balancing any difficulties. So the wine industry needs to solve it by themselves. But there are programs from the European Union for all wine-producing countries in Europe, supporting for the exportation to non-European markets. There are means from the European Commission to support events and fairs and so on.